Hello my friends, today I wanted to share a quick little video sharing 10 easy Victorian classics. Now, this is easy based on what I call easy. What I've realized when I've looked at other people's lists of easy Victorian classics is that it's very personal. So sometimes a book is easy because it's short, sometimes it's written like quite modern, and other times it's because I was just really into the book. I really liked it. If you go through these 10 books and you're like, some of these are not easy, it's just personal preference, but hopefully you will find at least some of these easy. I have, I think, 9 of them on a stack. Maybe this is only a list of 8 classics. I think it's only 8. I thought I had 10, but apparently I have 8. One of them is actually packed away. I pack it with my Christmas stuff, so it might not be the best like Victober pick, but it's a super easy Victorian book, and that is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Now, if you want to read a Dickens, this is the simplest book that there is. A lot of us already know the story. I'm a big fan of the Mickey Mouse Christmas movie. Last year, because so many people raved about the Muppets one, we watched it as a family, and honestly, we couldn't even get through it. It was, I'm sorry, you guys, people are very strongly opinionated about it, but it was too much for me. Anyway, so we follow Ebenezer Scrooge, who has been a bit of a miser through his years. He's a bit of a penny pincher, isn't very compassionate or kind or generous with his money. And we follow him as he has a couple dreams, gets visited by a couple different ghosts, and ultimately changes everything. Honestly, he decides to be generous, he becomes more cheerful. It's just a great story. Plus, it is a super short Dickens, and that doesn't happen very often. Dickens is the only author that I'm going to be having on here twice. I tried to not put authors on here twice. I'll just go instantly into the next Dickens. If you want to read another Dickens, it's so funny. I saw Great Expectations on a lot of people's lists of easy classics, and that is one that I've started twice and have never gotten into. Other than A Christmas Carol, I think his easiest one is Oliver Twist. Dickens is generally, minus A Christmas Carol, very wordy. I mean, this one's got a decently sized font, but his books are all pretty big. The running joke online is that he got paid per word, and that's why his books are so long. And while that is not completely accurate because he did not actually get paid per word, the majority of his books were serialized and he got paid per installment. So in some ways he kind of got paid per word, but not like exactly. So Oliver Twist, I think this one is generally pretty well known. We follow an orphan named Oliver. He manages to escape the workhouse, and bad things just follow him around. This, I felt like, this was in my early times reading Victorian classics. And it was one of the first ones that I was like, oh, I actually like this. And like I said, Dickens is pretty wordy, but I felt like with this one, I could get the story without getting lost in all his words. Plus my copy has some illustrations, which is always fun. So if you're going to start with Dickens, I would say start with A Christmas Carol and or Oliver Twist. In my opinion, those are the easiest two, but it really depends on what you enjoy in books. Some people love Great Expectations, some people love A Tale of Two Cities. I'm not one of those people. So in my opinion, these are the easiest two Dickens. A super short, funny, it's actually a play that I just read this month, is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. So this is actually a bind-up of like 4 or 5 plays. The Importance of Being Earnest is 77 pages in my edition, and I was like underlining and annotating. There's one part where I said I was dying because this is a story of 2 young gentlemen who have each created a secret friend or relative that causes them to either need to go to the country or to the city, and they both end up getting in trouble when people start to realize what's going on. It's 77 pages of just hilarity. I underlined a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I underlined that's like, okay, do the exact opposite of what it says. Here's one line. Men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. Yes, so We follow two young men and hilarity ensues. I wouldn't take a whole lot of notes on how to behave from here unless you want to just completely do the opposite. But that can be fun to read. The next one I think is sometimes considered, I think they're considered children's classics, at least the first one. I have book 3 here, but the first one is What Katy Did. I just barely read What Katy Did Next, which is book 3 in the series this month. And in the first book, we follow Katy Carr at the age of 12. In book 2, we follow her at school. I think she's 18-ish. And in What Katy Did Next, we follow her 20, 21, and she's spending time in Europe. These are just like super wholesome. Not everything goes perfectly, but I just really enjoy Katy. In the first book, she was a little obnoxious. She reminded me a little bit too much of myself as a child, but she has some really great character development in book 1. Book 2, she's at boarding school with her sister. That one's a bit rough for them. And in this one, yeah, she's traveling Europe and not everything goes perfectly. I love that. But there are a lot of things that she really enjoys. And it's another one of those books where I just like underlined a bunch of stuff as I was going. This is one of the few series, books in general, Victorian books, that I feel like, oh, I thought this was written like 50 years earlier or something. It reads so easy. I plan on continuing this series. In book 4, we're going to be following Katy's next sister, Clover. And so I'm curious to see how that goes with following a different character. But I'm just loving this series. Okay, this next one is not a short one by any means, but it was one that I was picking up instead of more contemporary books when I was reading it. And so to me, that signifies it was easy to read, it caught my attention, and that is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. This was my first Elizabeth Gaskell. So far it's been my favorite. Unfortunately, as I've read more of her books, I've liked them less, but I'm hoping to change that this year. She is my literary mentor, the person I'm focusing on as part of my DIY literature degree for this year. So hopefully I read some more good ones by her. But in this one we follow, what's her name? Margaret Hale. She lives in the country, but right at the beginning of the book, her and her parents have to move to an industrial town. And so it talks about the struggles that she has with that. And Margaret develops some social justice and develops a very, it says on the back here, a turbulent relationship with the mill owner. That is a good way to describe it. And yeah, I just flew through this book. It's one of my rereads I would like to reread this year. Actually, I forgot to put this on my October TBR, but it's gonna go on that stack because I want to reread it by the end of the year, and that's coming up pretty quick. And it's Victober, so I'm gonna just put this aside and that will go on that stack. The next one was a quick little read for me. It's The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I talked about this one in a recent video as well, and this is the book that Ruth Ware very loosely based her book Turn of the Key off of. So I've read both of them and it was fun to see like the similarities and the differences. So in this one we follow a young governess. She goes out to be a governess for these 2 children out in the country, and she like instantly starts getting these kind of creepy vibes, like someone's watching her or them, or something bad is going to happen. It's definitely like a gothic, atmospheric type book. I love what it says on the back here. Uneasy and sinister, this novella shows a woman haunted by an eerie and evil presence that emerges from the terrors of real life. So I feel like this is perfect for Victober. It's got those like creepy October vibes, but it's Victorian. And if you want to pair it with the Ruth Ware book, Ruth Ware is always a 3-star read for me, but I keep reading her books. So I don't know, maybe I recommend to read that one with this and maybe I don't. I'm kind of torn on that. As always, I need to recommend some Sherlock. You could read other books by Arthur Conan Doyle as well. My recommendation for an easy Victorian classic is The Adventures of Sherlock. This is the first of the short stories. So this one, also my edition, has like all sorts of illustrations throughout it. I have numerous editions of the Sherlock books. So this one has how many short stories? I never remember. This one doesn't have a table of contents. Are you serious? Okay, well, it's got a number of short stories, and I love that they're generally 5 to 10 pages. You could read a short story each day for Victober, and they're not always like murder mysteries. Sometimes an item has gone missing or something kind of sketchy is going on, and sometimes he leaves clues that a person could kind of figure it out. I generally don't because I'm not good at that, but in theory, one might be able to. If you want, you could also read A Study in Scarlet, The Hound of Baskervilles, some of Sherlock's shorter works that are not short stories, but I really prefer the actual short stories over those. I've read the other ones. They're okay, and some people love them. So maybe that would be your easy classic, but in my opinion, the short stories are the easiest and the best. So that's my recommendation. And the last one, another good one for October specifically, is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This bind-up also has other stories. So Jekyll and Hyde, in here, it's a pretty short story. In here it's 75 pages, so just that short. And I feel like most people already kind of know the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So when I read it, I didn't have any like, oh, didn't see that coming. I don't even remember how the story starts out. And I don't want to say too much because it's 75 pages, but I feel like people generally know the idea. And if you don't, go into it blind. Robert Louis Stevenson has quite a few other books as well. And in this bind-up, there is a number of his short stories that I've never heard of or read. There's The Bottle Imp, Markheim, The Beach of Falesa, Thrawn Janet, The Isle of Voices, Will o' the Mill, The Body Snatcher. I've heard of The Body Snatcher. Providence and the Guitar, and then also The Enchantress. I've never read any of those. Maybe I should put that on my Victober stack as well. So there, very quickly, are 8 what are, in my opinion, very easy Victorian classics. Like I said, if you don't think that one of these is easy, don't swear off Victorian classics forever. Maybe it's not an easy one for you. You might have some that you think are easy that I do not. A book I often saw on people's lists is Jane Eyre. And it's like, well, that's an interesting book, but I don't know if I would call it an easy classic. At the same time, I didn't put Wuthering Heights on here because I think a lot of people wouldn't consider it easy, but for me, it was one that completely sucked me in, and it was easy for me at the time that I was reading it. So much is time and just like personal preference. Hopefully you can find some easy Victorian classics that work for you. Let me know, what are some of your favorite what you consider easy Victorian classics? I especially would love it if it's like one I haven't read before. Maybe I can add it into my October, Victober TBR. I'm always curious to hear what you guys are reading for Victober, so thanks for joining me for another video.